Seeing that we have quorum, this meeting is officially called to order. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just a quick reminder to make sure your microphones are turned on. Madam Recording Secretary, would you please take roll call?
Commissioner Cano, Commissioner Garcia. Here. Commissioner Ramos. Here. Commissioner Santana. Present. Commissioner Solano. Commissioner Tardif.
Here.
Commissioner Wood.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier. Commissioner Vasquez.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. This is the time for the Commission to consider matters under consent calendar, items 1 and 2. Do any of the members have any corrections to the minutes, items they wish to pull for separate discussion or abstain on?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
If I could real quick, I do have a couple quick corrections. I was waiting for others. I know these minutes were performed by the prior recording secretary, but there were a couple areas where they were missing some important comments. On number 4, the discussion to change the process for the Cdbg process. The minutes didn't really reflect that we had quite a lengthy discussion and came up with multiple ideas, and the Commission finally voted yes to a 2-day process to have the public meeting part of the Cdbg process. So that should be noted, I think, or amended. And also on number 7, for commissioner comments, the minutes don't reflect any comments from the commissioners. And I just wanted to point out that Commissioner Garcia did give us an update on the Historic Resources Commission, and I had given a quick update on the presentation to the City Council that I gave in the prior month. So if we could just note those 2 things. Are there any other corrections to the minutes?
I'll change my motion to, I move to approve the minutes as suggested to be amended by Chair Wood.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion carries with unanimous consent. I'm not sure that I have to note Commissioner Frazier and Solano is absent. Yes. Thank you. Okay, the next order of business is consideration of the regular business items. The first item on the business calendar is item number 3, an amendment to C&C Development Company and Orange Housing Development Corporation promissory notes for Ross and Durant, Wilshire and Minnie, Townsend and Rayett, 1410 North Durant, Lacey and Rayett, and 326 South Garnsey Affordable Housing Developments, Strategic Plan number 5,3. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. Thank you. I have to admit, this is the first time I've had 2 cards handed to me, so. The first presenter or the first public speaker is Barry Cottle.
We're just available to answer the questions you have for the presentation.
Thank you very much. And also Todd Cottle.
We have the same thing.
Thank you. Before we move on to commissioner questions, will staff report on this matter?
Yes, Ms. Daisy Perez, our Housing Programs Analyst, will present on this item.
Good evening, or afternoon, Commissioners. It's not that late.
So staff received a request from one of the affordable housing developers in the city, CNC Development, and they are requesting to increase the management fee for 6 of their properties. It's outlined in the staff report. This previous management fees range from 6.25% to 7%. So these are properties that have been done. I should have written down the dates of the development, but these are older projects. So all the newer projects that have come forward in at least the last 5 developments, those are all at 8% management fee. So their request for an increase is actually a request with the status quo. So based on that, and based on that these are older properties, staff is requesting that you recommend an approval of the increase in management fee to 8%. And then I'm available, and also the developer is here if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Daisy. I'd like to open this up to questions from the commission. We'll start on the far end with Commissioner Vasquez.
Basically, I guess
Why are we suggesting the approval, or why are they requesting an increase? Both?
my request for an increase.
So these are aging properties, and they've seen an increase in management costs, and so the increase in the management fee would just make sure that they're able to keep the same level of service. So these management fees are tied with the current rent levels, and rents really haven't increased since these properties have been developed. So to try to compensate that, this is their way to do that.
And from what I've gathered, they're going to hire one extra maintenance person, something like that.
That is our understanding, yes.
Okay, the trade-off. Okay.
Questions?
Thank you. Commissioner Santana?
Nothing further. Nope.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos?
Yeah, I just have one question. How many staff members do you believe that you can hire with the 48,000?
Barry Cottle with CNC Development in Orange Housing. To answer your question, that's about 2/3 of a salary of someone. And we interviewed and made a job offer today to a new maintenance man. That's what we did. Very qualified. We have 6 maintenance men in the city of Santa Ana all the time for our properties. They go out every morning and are doing vacant units, work orders, getting ready for inspections, those type of things. So this would be the 7th maintenance man, but we did interview someone today that we feel very good about. But it would cover about 2/3 of their salary is what this would do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Vice Chair Tardif?
I don't really have any questions. I'd just comment that it was the staff report was very thorough, and it explained the reasons why this request is made and the justification for it. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead next with a few questions, if I could. The increase comes to about $48,800, and I noticed right below that it says there's no fiscal impact. I'm not sure how those two can be balanced.
So there is no fiscal impact associated with this action because it's a recommendation to City Council for approval of the increase in the property management fees. Now, when we go to City Council with the approval of the Commission, there will be a fiscal impact. The fiscal impact is going to be difficult to calculate. Where we've been discussing internally on how to actually explain the fiscal impact, because essentially what this does is it slightly decreases the amount of residual receipts revenue that the city will be receiving to pay back in paying back our loans. Those residual receipts fluctuate from year to year. And so we're going to attempt to explain that in the fiscal impact section for the City Council action item if it's approved today by the Commission.
Okay, I did note that there was language that sort of discussed what you just described to us, but it wasn't really as detailed, okay? The other question I had, did the city of did we compare the fees, the 8%, to other cities in Orange County in Southern California? And if so, I mean, if we did that study, why not show that to us, that comparing us to Fullerton or Garden Grove or other cities that might be in our situation? Is there, so that the city council would see that?
Well, we didn't go that far in the extent of our research. Several years ago, before my time, and I don't know if Brian was working with our department at that time, but the city began approving loan agreements for 8%, with an 8% management fee, as you see for our 5 most recent projects. But what we did to confirm that 8% is across Southern California, across the state, a comparable and reasonable management fee, is we conferred with Kaiser Marston Associates, KMA. KMA works with cities throughout the state, up and down the state on various affordable housing projects. And we verified with them that the 8% fee is comparable and reasonable to projects they see across the state of California, and they said yes. So we did limit our research to that confirmation from our trusted real estate advisor.
Okay, thank you very much. And from my perspective, I thought the rest of the request and the reason for the request was pretty detailed as far as the costs associated with managing and the extra reporting, so that was well laid out. I'm done with questions. Commissioner Garcia.
I just had a comment. I initially too as well questioned the fee increase, but I think the justification is there on page 3.2, and it's really well laid out. I also thought about our situations and how just taxes have gone up with properties and even my HOA at my condo, and they hadn't done it in years, so I understand that this is needed and I support it.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cano.
I do have a question. It says here that the last fee increase was 2009. Was that the only increase, or were there other fee increases in past years?
So that's in regards to the rent amounts that have only increased about 2% per year since 2009. Todd, do you want to explain that a little further?
Well, if you actually look at your the first exhibit, right after the letter, there's a rent history table, and that shows that since 2009, when you average the increase, it's only increased 2%.
Since 2009.
Since 2009.
Okay.
So there's some years where it hasn't increased at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission? In that case, do we have a motion to approve item 3, the amendment to C&C Development Company and Orange Housing Development Corporation, promissory notes for Ross and Durant, Wilshire and Minnie, Townsend and Rayett, 1410 North Durant, Lacey and Rayett, and 326 South Garnsey Affordable Housing Developments? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 7-0 with Commissioners Solano and Frazier noted as absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. The second item on the business calendar is item number 4, the quarterly report for Housing Division projects and activities, dated October 2017 through December 2017. Strategic Plan number 5,3. Is there any member of the public that would, before I begin, I would just like to ask a question or make a comment. I know, Judson, I had spoken with you, and the next few items are really items that should probably have been under the consent calendar, but they've been listed under the business calendar, correct?
Yes, I apologize very much to the Commission on this error. We, in our rush to publish the agenda and get all five items prepared for the commission, we accidentally placed the quarterly reports, which regularly go under the consent calendar items, under the business calendar items. So, unfortunately, we'll need to review and go through each one with public comment and staff comments as well.
And thank you for the clarification. I think it's a small oversight for for the first time. With that in mind, is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the matter? And if so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional request to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. I don't believe we have any public comment speakers. Will staff report on this matter?
No, we don't have an official report, but we did want to note that we added a new Exhibit 2. I'd like to thank Daisy for creating this new exhibit for us in response to the request for additional information from the Commission at our last meeting when we reviewed and considered a Housing Division quarterly report.
Thank you very much. I'll open this up to questions and comments from the Commission, and we'll start in reverse order with Commissioner Cano. Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Chair Tardif?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramos?
No questions. I just wanted to comment that I thought Exhibit 2 was great, and it's something nice to have to refer back to.
Thank you. Commissioner Santana?
Not at this present moment.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vasquez?
Not right now, thank you.
Thank you. I just have two, I think they're questions. I noticed in section 4.3, it said that they're on the monitoring process, 67 of the 72 had recertification letters received back. 5 were missing, and I'm wondering if those 5 were the ones the city audited in section 4.3.
In terms of the...
Well, it says during this quarter, 72 recertification letters were mailed and 67 were returned. So my question is, what about the other 5? Does that matter? Or?
They would staff follow up to those 5 letters that weren't returned and during the following quarter.
Okay.
And we ensure that we received those letters.
And the other question I had was on, this may have happened before I joined the commission, on section 4.7, down towards the bottom for the Cdbg program where the monies are broken out, the $500,000 Santa Ana Arts Collective loan. Can you just briefly explain that to me?
Of course.
Pardon me.
So this project dates back to November 2015. You'll see in the Exhibit 2, an RFP was issued in June 2015 for, if I remember the values correctly, it was $500,000 in Cdbg funds, $1.8 million in inclusionary housing funds, and I think $2.2 million in home program funds. In November 2015, following the procurement process, City Council approved the home and Cdbg award of funds for the project. The developer, so that in that approval, so since we're only talking specific to the $500,000, I'll just discuss that. So they approved the $500,000 on November 2015. After the developer obtained all their remaining financing, the City Council approved the loan agreement for those $500,000 in July 2017, and the project began construction in July of this past summer. Currently, the project's about 10% complete. Okay. And so that's where that $500,000 is coming from.
Thank you. I apologize. It started a little bit before I began on the commission. And my other comment was that the Exhibit 2 was really informative, and that's what we've been looking for, so thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve item 4, which the quarterly report for Housing Division Projects and Activities, October 2017 through December 2017.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Kano. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries 7-0 with Commissioners Solano and Frazier marked as absent. The third item on the business calendar is item number 5, the quarterly report for Housing Choice Voucher Program, Strategic Plan number 5. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the matter? Excuse me. If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. And I do not believe we have any public speakers. Will the, will the staff report on item number 5?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Does the commission have any questions of this, questions or comments for the staff? And I will start with Commissioner Frazier. Pardon me. Commissioner Vasquez. Excuse me.
No, don't have any questions right now.
No? Thank you very much. Commissioner Santana?
Can you come back to me? I had something.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, I have a few questions and comments. So I guess I'll start off by asking staff if there is how are the individuals on the waiting list prioritized? Is that just based off the time that their application was received by the city?
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. The waiting list was established in 2015. We received over 16,000 applications from July 1st through the July 30th, and then we did a lottery and selected 5,000 off those 16,000 applications. We did have a preference for live work in Santa Ana and veterans preference, and so we selected 5,000, but since then the waiting list has continued to be open to any veteran that lives or works in the city of Santa Ana. So it is by preference. It was established by preference, yes.
And for those that are currently on the waiting list, how do you prioritize? Can I be, for example, prioritized if I'm on that list because of my household size, whether it be larger or smaller?
No. So off the 5,000 applicants we selected, they were giving a number, 1 through 5,000, and it was all based on the lottery, just on the live or work preference, nothing family size, nothing any other preference. So no, it's just by number, how you ranked originally.
Okay. So, and then I'm wondering, does the city have the discretion to set a way to prioritize by household size?
The Santa Ana Housing Authority has never prioritized based on household size, no. We've had other preferences.
Yeah, there are other preferences that housing authorities do adopt, but I've actually never seen in the industry a preference by household size, and we would need to research whether or not it's even possible.
It could be viewed as discrimination based on family size.
So, and I ask because I believe that in our housing element, it states that the highest need is for people of very low income and for people with larger household sizes. And I also, as I was reviewing this on page 5.2, I noticed on chart 3, I noticed that only 21% of the beneficiaries are those with a household size of 3 or more. Mm-hmm. So I just find that a little concerning because I think it would be that the household size of 3 or more indicates that there's a family there, a family with need. So I was just wondering if there is any way that the city can address that greater need since that aligns with our housing element. And correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't reviewed the housing element in a month or two, so I might be a little off.
I think for a future, if we were to open again the waiting list, there's always meetings as far as what the needs are and, you know, what we can do as far as a housing authority. So we would definitely consider that at the next time when we open the waiting list.
Yeah, when we create the new waiting
Sure.
list.
And those are all my questions for now.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tardif?
No questions.
I'll just go ahead and take my turn now, or jump in here. The waiting list, you said the next time you update or create a new list, it's 2.5 years old. Is it something that's refreshed every 3 to 5, or is it just kind of added to and subtracted to?
No, it's as the housing authority gets down to exhausting that list, then we'll reopen the waiting list and you know, be formed based on the preferences that the housing authority adopts at that time. Last time we opened, I think we got down to about 300 to 400 individuals remaining, and then we reopened, and those individuals were you know, called off the waiting list immediately before. So.
Okay. The report shows there's 2,520 households receiving assistance, and 22% of those earn 50 to 80% of the median income, which puts them at about 44 to 70,000 in income. Are those, because they're typically, you know, those are higher income folks that are receiving housing assistance, are those typically the ones that have a higher number of people in the household? Or is that something we wouldn't know? I was just surprised that almost 1/4 of the money goes to households that are receiving upwards of almost 80% of the median income.
Are you referring to chart number 5?
Yes.
Okay, so chart number 5 actually demonstrates the reverse. So chart number 5 demonstrates that the majority of our families, 78% of our families, have incomes below 30% AMI, and then only 3% of the families have incomes below 80% AMI. So,
and 22% have at 50%, right?
Yes, 16%.
16%. Okay.
It's what this chart really demonstrates is the extent of how our housing authority vouchers, you know, serve the lowest income families in our community.
Which they do, it's 78, but yet the vast majority.
Yes.
On page 5.3 or section 5.3, the inspections for November and December were down 25% from October. Is that indicative of the holidays?
It is normal. It depends how often the family moves from one unit to the other. In the last 2 years, we've also transitioned from doing inspections annually to biannual inspections. And so we've been trying to make sure that within the 24-month period, all the 2,600 families, or the ones that live in Santa Ana actually, are inspected. So every year it varies. Last year we were trying to split inspections. So it's just a matter of how many inspections we did this month, how many were no-shows, and how many were rescheduled for the following month. So next year, this month might be a little lower, you know, whatever inspections are due for the month.
Okay. And lastly, on section 5.4, there were 19 change of unit applications noted, 14 new admissions. Would that then, does that mean 14 fell off the program or left the program? Is there a number that's reported as having left the program that no longer receive assistance, or was that 0?
So the 19 change of unit actions were when a family is moving from one unit to the next, or porting into our jurisdiction from outside the city. And the new admission actions are obviously new admissions to the program from the waiting list. And
there's none reported as having left or having no longer needed, or is that something that's not reported?
You know what? We actually so it'd be EOPs. We don't provide that data currently in the report.
I was just okay. That's what's sort of missing. I was curious.
But we do average about 11 per month attrition. 11 participants that go off housing for different reasons.
Yeah, I just thought that was an important number to have in here, but it's That was my question. I didn't see it, so I'm asking, and thanks for providing that. Commissioner Garcia?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Kano?
I do have a question. So I've heard a lot about the voucher program, but I still don't know what's the process to sign up for the voucher program. So I just kind of wanted to learn how that works and how accessible it is.
So the waiting list that we currently have, it was established in 2015, and anytime we have a utilization committee meet every month, and so we analyze the money that we have for the remaining of the year. We obviously, like this year, we're working on a continuing resolution, so we don't even know what our money will be like this year, but we strategize on what is the number maybe that we can support according to the money that we have or we're expected to receive. And so we come to an agreement of possibly if we can pull more names off the waiting list or not. And then we go to that waiting list, to the 2015 waiting list. So if we agree to pull 100 names off the waiting list, then we go ranking from 1 to 100, and we call them in and invite them to an orientation. And then depending on who shows up to that orientation, we schedule them for an eligibility appointment. And on that eligibility appointment, we do the screening, the required screening. And then if they're eligible, then we issue them a voucher. And then we explain how the program works. And they have, initially they have 60 days to look for a unit. And then they can request 2 more 30-day extensions, so for a total of 120 days.
Wow. Okay.
And Commissioner, due to the overwhelming demand for our vouchers, we only opened up that waiting list from July 1st to July 30th in 2015.
So 1 month.
And like we said, it was 16,000 applications during that time period. So now, after that, after it was closed, now we only accept applications for veterans, U.S. military veterans to apply.
Okay. And then for the screening process, what are some qualifications that people must meet, kind of like maybe not? I mean, if they're in probation.
Income eligible.
Okay,
They have to be income eligible, and as we establish the waiting list, they claim to either have a preference, whether it's a veteran that lives or works in the city, or just a resident that lives or works, so we verify the preference. And then once we have a criminal background check, sex offender check, if everything comes back okay, then that person is eligible.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kano. Commissioner Santana?
Thank you. So in our neighbor association meeting, a lot of the residents' concerns are that they're being essentially bumped, really not knowing about the lottery system so well. Is a lottery reminded for folks who apply that they know exactly it's a lottery system?
Yes, so when they applied, our notices all said that it was going to be lottery-based. When it was lotterized, we send out letters to all individuals that were selected and to all individuals that were not selected. And I believe that, when you go onto the into the portal to check on your application, it tells you what you ranked on the lottery. So yes,
Okay.
and anytime they call in, they know.
Because the fear is that with the displacement of homeless folks on the riverbeds, that they are taking up their slots or their spaces, because apparently housing for them is also a crucial need, and they're feeling that they're being bumped or pushed aside because they need to accommodate the folks who are clearing those beds.
None of the homeless that have been going to the project, and I'm sure everyone's aware of the Orchard project, the 71 units, project-based units. Those are separate from the regular waiting list. No one was selected or bumped off the 2015 waiting list to fill those units. That was a different project. Did you want to add anything?
No, and in terms of if an applicant moves moves up further on the waiting list and extends their wait time, it's primarily because the only reason it is because when a veteran applies, they have the first priority and they go right to the top of the waiting list.
And we don't have that many that apply. I mean, I can have a lot of veterans that apply, but if they don't work or live in the city, they don't get placed on the waiting list. And if they do, when they're called in for an orientation, they get removed. So nobody's getting bumped for any other reason.
And I'm a big advocate of us doing outreach, and I would like to see that this board does more outreach and be more integrated with the neighborhood association meetings and any place we can plug in, even if it's a booth, or because housing is always remains an issue here in Santa Ana, and if we can have staff readily available receiving applications or addressing those questions, it would help our fellow residents to feel comfortable and safe, and knowing that this body and this board is doing a diligent job of making sure that there's transparency.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner Santana. And you had also brought that up other times before. So to report out on that item, Miriam attended on a Saturday. Was it in November? Do you remember? A veterans event?
I think it was November, yes.
Was it in November? Attended a resource fair for...
it was November 11th, yes.
November 11th.
It's on Veterans Day.
For veterans, and hosted a booth, one of the only city booths at the event, actually. Where
was that the OC Fairgrounds?
It was at the by the metro area.
Segerstrom Center, I think, right?
Segerstrom, yes.
At the Segerstrom Center. Okay. And then on Saturday, February 3rd, the Delhi Center is holding a community resource fair with regarding the 4 pillars of well-being: education, income, health, and housing. And Miriam will also be taking her Saturday to host a booth at that event on Saturday, February 3rd, from 10 to 1 p.m. is the fair time. And in addition, staff will be presenting at the Comlink board meeting this Thursday evening regarding primarily in regards to homelessness, but staff will be present at that meeting. And I wanted to add too, on February 13th, we'll be hosting a down payment assistance payments workshop here in the City Council chambers at 6 p.m. And we sent out Nixle on that, and we also marketed it into the citywide newsletter going out soon.
That's great.
Thank you. Are there any other commissioner questions or comments?
I have a few additional questions or comments.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I think of more things as everyone else speaks. But I noticed one of the commissioners asked how many families were no longer participating in the program. So I would like to request that information be provided in the future report. And I'm specifically interested in knowing why they no longer qualify for that program, and whether that be that they're no longer able to recertify because of an income requirement. And at that recertification, do you do another criminal background check?
No, it's only done at time of admission, or if anyone is reported to be incarcerated, or if we're investigating on any type of violations, then we may run another criminal background check.
Okay, so I would be interested in that information and knowing why somebody wasn't able to recertify, so knowing the percentage of those individuals that didn't recertify and why they no longer qualified. And then I'm also interested in knowing how many households no longer qualify for Section 8 vouchers because they couldn't find housing for their household size. So I had made comment on this prior. I know that on that list, I don't know. So there's one family that has a household size of 12. So I would be interested in seeing how successful the larger families are in finding housing, and seeing if that changes as the quarters go on and what the trend is. So I'd like to request that information. And I know at the last time we got this report, I also requested, and I don't recall exactly what the answer was, what the response was, but I would be very interested in seeing the geographic distribution of the vouchers in the city. And I think that would be good information to have because there may be areas in the city that are more affordable for whatever reason, and where families are more successful in finding housing with the amount of money that the voucher provides. So I would also like to request that a map and I'm not going to be picky on exactly how that is divided. It might be easy to do it by ward or by neighborhood. I think it would actually be great by neighborhood, the neighborhoods that the city has, so the neighborhood associations can also use that information. And those are all my comments.
That's great comments.
Thank you.
So in regard, we'll be able to provide that information to you for the request for information on families that exit the program. We don't currently track the reasons why families exit. There's various reasons why families may exit at any point in time. When I say there's various, there's only 4. So either families no longer qualifies for assistance. And if they no longer qualify for assistance, they actually have 6 months, a 6-month period where we still keep them on the program in case their income changes. And then at the end of that 6-month period, if they still no longer income qualify, then we'll exit them off the program. They are terminated due to violation of their program responsibilities. And myself, our city attorney, and our senior housing specialist sit on a committee that reviews any proposed terminations that are being brought forward for consideration. 3, they move out of our jurisdiction and they move to another state or to another housing authority, and they just move with their voucher. Or 4, they pass away, they die. So those are the 4 reasons. We don't have the capacity to track exactly the 4 reasons because of there's a substantial number of families that may exit who are currently ported out of our jurisdiction, and we're paying for their assistance, but we're not administering their voucher. But we will be able to add a new section to the quarterly report that provides the number of exits for that quarter for you. For the families that could not qualify for assistance after searching with their voucher, we have a spreadsheet that we maintain that tracks all of our vouchers that are issued. We don't have the detail down to the family size, but we'll definitely send you that spreadsheet so you can take a look and review it. And then in terms of the geographic distribution, as you know, each household member, none of our staff can ever divulge in any format, or any way whatsoever whether or not a voucher holder is a voucher holder or not to any member of the public. And geographic distribution or geographic location of a voucher holder puts them at risk of being identified as a voucher holder with the potential stigmas attached. But we do have a general geographic distribution of our voucher holders in the city of Santa Ana, as well as the HUD provides data across Orange County. I only note that we won't be able to get down to the neighborhood level, but we'll send you that data that's publicly available.
Okay, that'd be great. And it'd be great just if it's included in the report so that when others also access this report, it's there. And I understand we can't get too detailed, but I think any information would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I had a quick comment. Or
Absolutely.
question.
Commissioner Garcia.
When Judson was speaking, it kind of triggered my memory. I wanted to ask a little bit more about the home down payment assistance program and how that's doing. Like, is there a good turnout for the informational sessions and things like that?
Claudia's not here. Answer that question.
I just had a general question about the marketing. Like, are you targeting the millennials? Right now, I think that age range is mid-20s to mid-30s, and I recently read it's been highly covered that they're buying a lot of homes. They're starting out, they're young, and things like that. So I was just wondering if you're targeting that audience here in Santa Ana. There's a lot of them. We
try and market our our down payment assistance program through the workshops, the fairs that Miriam attends, as well as the through the Nixles.
Sure, I get those.
But the turnout varies quite dramatically. We had good turnout last year when we sent out information on our inclusionary housing units that were for sale, and it had over, I think, 75 people attend that workshop. But other workshops, it varies from 25 to 50 people.
Does that translate though to people actually applying that qualify and apply?
Well, yeah, it does, yes.
Okay.
But then the successful applications is a different matter. So and this is going back to the Housing Division quarterly report. Successful, you'll see for our down payment assistance program, we had 40 inquiries for quarter 2, a total of 115 this fiscal year so far. Sent out 30 applications from those inquiries, because people may call and immediately, or attend a workshop and immediately realize that they don't qualify or they're not interested. And then we only received 1 application back for quarter 2 from the 30. So there's not very much follow through. What we absolutely see is families struggling to be able to afford a unit to buy, a home to buy, and we're actively discussing how we can expand ownership opportunities for families through our existing programs, So
I just think that those millennials are a good niche audience that are mobile. They're making their money and they're ready. They want to invest in Santa Ana, and I think they're going to make the community grow. So it would be worthwhile to specifically target. So that was just my comment.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Do we have a motion to approve item 5, the quarterly report for Housing Choice Voucher Program?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner or Vice Chair Tardif. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramos. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries 7-0 with Commissioners Frazier and Solano noted as absent. The 4th item on the business calendar is item number 6, the quarterly report for homeless services projects and activities dated October 2017 through December 2017. Excuse me. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. I don't believe we have any public speakers. Will staff report on the matter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to note that staff is available to answer any questions regarding this quarterly report. This is a new quarterly report that we've created, and we appreciate any review and feedback you have for us as we develop this new quarterly report to report out on these items.
Thank you very much. If the commission will allow me, I would like to ask some questions and comment first. First off, this is something I think all of us have been looking forward to seeing, and it was a lot of really good detailed information. So thank you to whoever put the time into this. It's really very invaluable. I'm sure all of us, I know speaking for myself, I get asked daily, weekly by members of my community that know that I'm on this commission, what the city is doing and what kind of statistics we have on this. So it's some really good data to go back to them on. And on table 1, I noticed that the first 3 months, the total reports that went into the police were 1,947, and the last 3 months of the year were 2,222, which is about a 14% increase. And my question is, with the report that 460 plus homeless individuals are going to be moved out of the stadium area and barred from the Santa Ana riverbed for the next 3 months due to the projects they're working on, most experts say that those 460 plus individuals are going to hit 3 cities, Anaheim, Orange, and Santa Ana. Is there a contingency plan in place, or has the city thought about what they're going to do temporarily with these additional numbers that are going to hit the city?
Yes, so our interdepartmental committee on homelessness actually formed a quality of life team made up of our Public Works Agency, our Parks and Recreation and Services Agency, our Police Department, obviously, as well, and our Community Development Agency. There's about 6 members of that team, including Terry. Terry, do you want to talk more about the quality of life team that was formed?
Good afternoon. The City Attorney's Office is also part of that team, which is a valuable asset. The Quality of Life team is doing something that they always are doing. It's not specifically addressed towards the riverbed challenges that we're going to be facing, but it is something that has been stepped up a little bit. Going out and locating abandoned property in private as well as public property and addressing those issues on a daily basis for the next 30 days or so. But it is something that is part of the system. They're just utilizing the My Santa Ana app that is always in existence for private property or abandoned property in public and private locations, as well as graffiti. It's just something that's being stepped up a little bit for this project.
And our deputy city manager actually went out on the first day with the team himself, and they've been meeting proactively since Monday. So since the enforcement in the riverbed began.
And they have had some good success stories. They contacted an individual who was interested in returning to their hometown and was interested in a bus ticket. They found an individual who was interested in going over to the Courtyard Transitional Shelter. And I believe there was one other individual that they were able to assist through some bridge housing, I think was the other. So some good successes out of the first day.
Okay, thanks, Terry. On section 6.3, the city has a webpage, and it's going to be dedicated, I guess, to how the city is addressing the homeless issue. That's referring back to, again, I get asked quite a bit about what the city is doing and what the county is doing. I can't speak for the county, but for the city. When is this webpage going to be up? It's said in the next couple of months. Can you just a brief overview on what it's going to share?
Sure. The webpage actually should be up before that. So we're hoping probably within the next couple of weeks. It will be an overview with a lot of information about where people can go to get various information. We'll have links to the point-in-time count for the county as well as our city. We'll have links to reports for what the county has put out. And then it will also address some of our projects that you see right here, our Orchard project, all of our affordable housing projects. There'll be information about our HEART team, what they're currently doing. So quite an overview. In addition to that, a separate document that will be forthcoming will be more of a dashboard that's going to have actual statistics. So the first thing that's going to roll out is going to be more of a narrative, more informational, and then the dashboard is going to follow as well.
Okay, thank you. My last question was in section 6.5, was just for a clarification. The very last part was to minimize the number of needles found in the Civic Center, and the outcome was MOU terminated and permit denied this year. Brief explanation?
Of course. So the city gave the OC Needle Exchange Program a 30-day notice prior to the expiration of their MOU. The OCNEP, for short, they also applied for a permit, and the city denied that permit. We, from that denial and the termination of their MOU, we do not expect them, and they are not permitted to distribute needles here in the Civic Center.
Is there a plan for a replacement?
I'm sorry?
Is there a plan for a replacement or group that would be qualified?
No. So should have provided context. So over a period of, since the installation of this program, there have been many complaints by staff, by members of the public, by patrons of our libraries of used needles being found throughout our civic center.
Right.
Any one of us as staff could actually attest of coming into the office in the morning and walking right past the used needle as we're walking in. I believe even library staff have been poked by a needle in certain instances, and there's a report that was conducted by an outside consultant on the issue and on the health and safety hazards, and we have various photos and evidence of this issue. So as a result of the unhealthy and unsafe conditions resulting from the OCNEP program, the city it terminated that MOU with the OCNEP program.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Cano, I'll start at this end. Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
I just wanted to say great work on the recap and this chart. I did have a question concerning the strategy, development, and implement specific legislation related to housing and homelessness. So who from the staff is working on that?
So that includes myself, Terry, and it will also include our homeless services manager. In fact, we just last week participated on the county's first advisory committee meeting for the No Place Like Home funds. And myself, Terry, Daisy, and our Corporal Montiel from our HART team attended that meeting on behalf of the city. We also meet on a regular basis with our lobbyists in Washington and in the state of California, in Sacramento, and have conference calls, monthly conference calls with those lobbyists for updates on various legislation being considered or proposed at the state and federal level. So it's on multiple fronts, both at the local level and advisory committees for how resources are being allocated at the local level, it's at the state level through our state lobbyists, and at the federal level through our federal lobbyists, who we communicate with on a regular basis.
Okay, so you're providing direct feedback to them or providing information to them specific to Santa Ana, and then they submit that on your behalf, and then that helps shape the legislation?
Yes,
Okay.
including letters of support, finding out more information on specific pieces of legislation that are being considered, providing letters of support for pieces of legislation that are being considered.
So how many are being looked at right now or are in the process of maybe getting passed? I know it's a long road to make it a law or a bill, but where is there some that are going to go through that you feel are promising or that you can tell us about at this point?
Well, actually, so following our most recent update for this new session of the legislature in Sacramento, there's no new legislation that we're aware of that's currently being considered to increase or streamline funding for homeless services. The biggest piece of legislation, that was approved in 2016 was the No Place Like Home program. But then following that was the housing legislation that was approved. There's 15 bills that were approved in the state of California to streamline and support the development of more housing, including affordable housing. And staff are monitoring closely the implementation and rulemaking process for the SB2 legislation that was approved, which is a fee attached to real estate transactions. It's a $75 to $225 fee attached to real estate transactions. And that piece of legislation is expected to generate approximately, how much for Orange County, do you know? No, off the top of your head. But a couple, it's going to generate local revenue for us that will be allocated directly to us. And so we're going to be monitoring that rulemaking process very closely and anticipating the first dispersal of those funds, hopefully in the next year or so.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the recap. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tardif?
Just a question along the lines of the homeless. How are the new regulations regarding camping in the Plaza of the Flags here? Are they being adhered to and enforced?
So thank you, Vice Chair Tardif. Following the approval of the amendment to our municipal code by City Council in October, our HART team and our police department began the enforcement of the new regulations under our municipal code in, I believe it was the beginning of December, right? December what? 12th. And so far we've found that there's been some issues of non-compliance with that municipal code, but overall our police officers have reported that it is a substantial new tool to ensure the health and safety of the Plaza of the Flags and ensure that prohibited items are no longer in the Plaza of the Flags. So it's progressing slowly, and we hope to see 100% compliance in the next couple weeks or months.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, I have a few questions. On page 6.2, there's a table for permanent supportive housing, and it shows us that 71 units have been developed for homeless individuals and families. Of those 71 units that have been developed, do we know how many of them are now being occupied, or how many of them have tenants or future tenants lined up?
These 71 units are actually at the Orchard project, which all of our commissioners should have received an invitation to attend the grand opening on February 1st. And I've been reporting that it's fully occupied, but I think there may be a few units that are still not occupied. Miriam, do you know off the top of your head?
We do have about 10. Maybe not close to 10 units. The last referral that we got was last week, and that was the last one to a no-show for previous referral.
So for that small number of units that are vacant, if I knew a homeless individual, what does the process look like for them to be considered for a unit there, or any of the other units that will be developed?
The units are filled based on the coordinated entry system for individuals here in the Civic Center or in the courtyard, for chronically homeless individuals who reside here in the Civic Center or the courtyard. And we work with the healthcare agency staff, who are assigned as a street outreach team for the Civic Center and courtyard, and work most closely with the individuals, as well as our HART team officers. And when we receive a referral from Mercy House as the lead service provider for the project of an individual through CES who qualifies under our criteria, we have the healthcare agency as well as our HART team officers confirm that referral in fact qualifies as a chronically homeless individual from here in our Civic Center or courtyard. And so it's a very thorough process of vetting each individual for assistance at the project due to the extremely limited number of permanent supportive housing units across Orange County.
So all the tenants there are from the Civic Center area and the courtyard? Do we have that information?
So no, a significant majority are. When the project first opened, there were several residents who were in place at the time when the project was approved for a project-based voucher HAP contract, and those tenants who were in place came from throughout Orange County. And I believe there are about 36 or 34 or 36 individuals who were considered in place at the time of HAP contract execution, and we're not sure of exactly where those individuals came from, but the remainder of the individuals, up to the 71, are from the Civic Center or courtyard.
Okay. So just a recommendation for the next report would be to include a table similar to the table on page 4.1, that shows us how many people have inquired for the down payment assistance program and how many people have actually benefited from it. So I think that would be a great way to show the success that the city is having in housing these individuals. And then one more question. When is the point in time count this year for Orange County?
So Orange County, actually, we do our point in time count. You're probably referencing the point in time count in Los Angeles. So Orange County actually does our point in time count every 2 years.
Okay.
And so our next point in time count will be in January 2019.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Santana?
Thanks. So a lot of my questions have been kind of answered. I did want to bring concern to Section 6.5 about the needle program. Is this any different from what the county is doing? Have they terminated their MOU contract with the same service provider? Are you aware if there's any?
I'm not aware of any county program. This was basically I believe there's a new requirement in the ordinance that went through putting new restrictions on the Civic Center area that required a permit in order to conduct such a program in that area. And so when OCNEP applied for that permit, it was denied. So, but I'm not aware of any other programs or affiliations with the county.
And was there any enforcement? Because the program is exchange, so apparently I give you 5 needles, you give me 5 needles, and we're good, right? Or was that not being enforced?
So we understood the nature of the exchange. Come in for 5, and I believe you would you provide 5, and I believe you could receive up to 40 in exchange. But we determined over time that there was a significant lack of oversight of the program, proper oversight of the program, due to the substantial amount of used needles that were being found throughout the Civic Center and in our library.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of needles either, but I understand that dirty needles are even worse when they're reshared and rewashed and reused. So this can be a big problem down the line in the future, not now, but we'll see it as time goes. So I do want to state that because where I live, I see needles all the time, but that's disappointing. Second was, if you look at 6.2 on Table 1, when it looks at the quarterly report for disturbance and, I guess, police activity, is there any way to drop pins on all these service calls for disturbance, trespassing, drug in public, so we can figure out what area of this? Because I feel that a lot of these calls do not resonate in the Civic Center area. And me, who live in the Madison neighborhood, we've encountered a huge issue in the bike trails as well as different areas. So I would like more information if the city can provide maybe a geographical map so we can see this. And those are my 2 topics. Everything else has been talked about. I think with the count that is coming at 2019, that's going to be interesting as well, but I'll just hold back.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes, I have a question about, I noticed that besides providing clean syringes, that they also provided on-site HIV and hepatitis C testing, referrals to health, housing, and treatment services for over 200 individuals each weekend in the Civic Center, which is good for public health. So is the city going to continue these more restrictive but nonetheless important services?
So the city terminated the MOU with OCNEP. The negative impact on the health and safety of our employees, members of the public who are visiting the Civic Center, was the primary reason for the termination of that MOU. Is there a lawsuit going on like that?
Not aware. I mean, there's certainly discussions of that. I'm not aware of anything that's been filed, but it is an ongoing issue. Obviously, this is just very, very current and recent issues, and so this we might not be able to discuss too much further because of pending legal issues.
Yeah.
But that could be cut out, right? That about the needles. So at least there would be information and testing, just like you can go and get a flu shot for free.
So the city terminated our MOU for the OCNEP to provide services here on our property, but it didn't. It is not saying that the OCNEP can't operate in another area of the city, only specific to our MOU here in the Civic Center.
And for golden needles, I mean, that would be safe. Just for a time being, just forget about that. I just would wish that basic, for public health, the basic services that don't involve the controversy would continue.
I'm sorry.
Are there other groups that that work with the city that are providing testing for these, individuals in this area? That's what he's asking. The program was terminated for some very valid reasons, but the areas that have been left, is there a void that's been created in the free testing for HIV and hepatitis and other things? Or are there other groups that are able to step in and help these individuals?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
I have a question. Can this commission make a recommendation that the city council explore another provider that can provide those services without the needle exchange program?
The needle exchange program, while it's included in this as a homeless outreach aspect, it's a bit on the fringe of the purpose of the Housing Commission here. So while you certainly can, voice your opinions to council members and make recommendations, in terms of official action of the CRHC, I don't know if it falls necessarily within the purview of this commission, which is supposed to focus more on the housing aspect of these issues.
Perhaps the minutes could reflect the consensus of four of us, at least, if not all of us, that it's a disappointment that part of it has been left to the side, that the part about testing.
Absolutely, that is part of the discussion that's occurring in our
Okay.
meeting.
So do the council members also receive this discussion when they get that recommendation?
In terms of the
discussion that we're having now.
The minutes.
The minutes? I don't think so. No.
So that was my thought. And maybe, so can we add a statement to the motion that we choose to make today, expressing our concern?
Can we add a letter expressing what was just been, it's exactly what she said. I think it would be worthwhile.
And I think it is a housing concern because that is housing for these homeless individuals. So I think it does fall within our work because, it's sad that that's the housing that they have.
So I would, can you walk me through exactly what the commission is proposing?
So from my understanding, there's at least 4, maybe 5 commissioners
Right.
that have expressed discontent with
That the second half of this last item, which is listed, has been dropped off, and that was the on-site HIV, hepatitis C testing, referrals to health, housing, and treatment services for over 200 individuals each weekend in the Civic Center. That part has been terminated, according to what this report says, because that group that was also exchanging needles was doing this kind of work, and that they've been prohibited from doing that any further. And the question was, are there other groups that work with the city in all the various funding that we do through CDBG or otherwise that are providing these services, or is there a stopgap for that? And if not, how can we express our disappointment that this part of it was removed, along with the part that we understand why it was removed, the needle exchange.
Okay. Let me see. Well, so as Ryan alluded to, there's the potential for legal action by the OCNEP against the city, and the city. This item was provided in this agenda to refer primarily to that the MOU has been terminated and their permit denied to provide services here in our Civic Center. So as such, in terms of the impending lawsuit, if one is in fact filed, as well as the multiple issues that staff have encountered in this agency, in this organization operating in our Civic Center as employees, I would advise as staff that the commission not take any action regarding this item. Now, if the commission would like to make a motion regarding this item, I think we'll need to discuss that further. So,
I just had one quick question, if I may. You said there was a study done, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was a contract with this provider, correct?
There was an MOU with this provider, so no, it wasn't a financial agreement. It was an MOU that allowed the provider to provide services here in our Civic Center.
Okay. And so, it's a little difficult because when you look at the contract, was it a month-to-month contract or was this like a whole year contract? Because we don't know, we rarely have very little to go off by. So for us, I understand what the concern from your perspective. For us, this is why we kind of need a little bit more insight, because we don't know if we're crossing over or if there's something I need to take back to my council member and have discussions with, as well as with our community, because at any given point, it would make no difference from some resident from the city to come in and in public comment speak to the council and address it and hopefully add it to further agenda. So it is a concern for me because, again, with this termination of contract, we would see effects further down the line. You're just kicking the can down the road where it becomes more of an issue. So with us, I think all the commissioners here are more interested in the information that we can actually present this to.
I appreciate your concerns with it and your issues, and absolutely, would recommend that you discuss that with your council members, and you absolutely can raise those concerns in terms of an official action of this board. You are regulated by your bylaws and by the municipal code in terms of what actions can be taken, and those are typically actions are brought to you by staff and regarding housing projects that will come forward. So since this isn't an item that was brought to you by staff with regards to housing, there's not really a vehicle for you to pass a resolution or approve anything that would go up to council that way. But that's not to say you shouldn't be discussing this issue or taking your opinions and voicing them with your council members if you think that's appropriate.
I do have a comment. So on the agenda, I noticed that the city their goal was to meet community safety, and that was their objective, just community safety. And from Comlinks and from my community association, the needle exchange program has become a hazard. It's become a problem. I mean, if a child touches one needle, that's an accident, one too many. It shouldn't happen at all. So I applaud that this is happening in the Civic Center area. And we've seen needles in the streets, in the parks. Students can't walk, can't really play. So I do find it a concern, and I understand that maybe there are other resources that could be available. But for me, I feel that since that termination, I think it's a good start, because our concern should be our community as a whole, the safety. So that was just a comment I had for that. Thank you.
So I understand the concern with potential pending litigation, but is there a way for us to just simply state that we would like to see the on-site, so everything after the needle services, everything after that being provided, or is there a way to state that without I mean, because in us just stating that we still want to see on-site HIV and hepatitis, et cetera, being provided, we're not making comment on the need to exchange program. Would that kind of get around the concerns with the potential pending litigation and us commenting on that as an advisory board to the city council?
Your statement will be reflected in the meeting minutes, but again, as provided by Ryan and the city attorney's office, no formal action can be taken.
Then I think it would be left to each of us to discuss our concerns that we have with our council members, and if they recommend us to bring that back in a future meeting, we should.
I have a quick comment.
Okay.
Is there any way, I understand the pending litigation and everything going on in the background. I know there's more to this than is listed here. What information can we have in writing that we can review, that whoever's interested in speaking more about it to their council member, whoever the city council can refer to? Because what is fact? Like what information is versus pending litigation and all those different ends? Sounds like there's a lot of moving parts. Is there a way we can get a recap maybe of why this happened, why it was terminated, things like that, but in writing?
Can I add one thing? We do have outreach and engagement teams out in the Civic Center on a daily basis that are providing referrals to health and housing for all of these individuals. So it appears as though the only thing that is not currently moving forward is the on-site HIV and hepatitis C testing in the Civic Center. So I think the rest of it is. I just wanted to make you aware of that. And it's possible that Orange County Healthcare Agency does that. I'm not aware of that part.
So that's the clarification I think that I was looking for, is that they were actually providing that testing on site. Is that true?
I don't know. And again,
it seems like it's just awkward that we're having this weird dance here that we can't have. We're just asking, are there other groups working with the city? We're about to do the Cdbg block grant analysis for all these applicants, and some of them are related to health and helping in free screenings and that kind of stuff. And I suppose we'll have our chance to look at that very soon, next month. But the basic question was, were there other groups that work with the city that provide some of these services that will be able to continue to provide or refer people, and I think Terry alluded to that, refer people to centers where they can get tested for HIV or for hepatitis if we know they're needle users?
Yeah, so the HEART, as Terry mentioned, the HEART team is actively conducting outreach on a daily basis in the Civic Center and in the Plaza of the Flags for active drug users, and we also have contracts with the Illumination Foundation and with and CityNet as well, who conducts outreach in the Plaza of the Flags.
Okay, and I thought
the services that you're seeing here, the HIV and hepatitis C testing. I believe the healthcare agency provides those services. In terms of your request, Commissioner Garcia, for information regarding this item, this is not an item or an MOU that involves our community development agency. So I can refer your request to our city manager's office, who has been involved in this agreement.
Well, I hope you understand that once this information is put here and these recaps and summaries, that when there's minimal information like that, there's naturally going to be a ton of questions coming out of these reports. So bear with us as we ask
Absolutely.
More questions about this. So
Yeah.
Could I move for a motion? Do we have a motion to approve item 6? The quarterly report for homeless services, projects, and activities, October 2017 to December 2017?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second that motion. Thank you, Commissioner Cano. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Then the motion would carry 7-0 with Commissioners Frazier and Solano noted as absent. The fifth item on the business calendar is item number 7, appointment to the Historic Resources Commission. And I apologize, but I must read this once more. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment section. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. I don't believe we have any public speakers. Will staff provide a report on this matter?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Does the commission have any questions for, I could move for questions, but in this, I've already spoken with Mr. Brown about this, and we're looking to appoint someone for a 1-year term. I believe Commissioner Garcia had filled that before, and I'd like to open this up to those who would like to volunteer or nominations for this post. And Mr. Hodge, correct me, I don't believe we need a second on a nomination of this sort.
No, that not at all. People can volunteer or make a recommendation for somebody else if they so choose.
Thank you. So I'd like to just quickly open that up to any volunteers or nominations for this 1-year post appointment.
Does anybody have any questions for me as the...
Can we have you give a brief overview of what your experience was?
Sure.
Well, that and the duties, that's a good point.
Sure. Basically, this commission has meetings once a quarter, every year. And the commission, the Historic Resources Commission, is all about preserving commercial buildings and homes in the city that meet the criteria for historic designations. There's a ton of rules or criteria that the buildings and the homes have to meet in order to get passed through and get on the registry. This is an example here of there's a meeting tomorrow. So basically, keep the public, whoever's interested, homeowners or commercial building owners that are interested in this designation, file an application and they pay the fee. And then it goes through the process, through the planning division. And then eventually, if it meets the criteria, then it goes to the commission, and then we review the property. By then, the property has been thoroughly vetted, but you'd be surprised there's things that come up with those properties that we might not be aware of, or things that are happening in the background that come to light during those meetings. So it's a great commission. I personally love history and I love architecture, so I love being on it. Rather than that, yes, it has to do with that, and it's a very important commission because you're working to preserve the city's history through this commission, and it's, we're the oldest city in Orange County, so one of the oldest, so I think it's really important. As much as we are building all these new housing and everything, it's equally important to preserve our city's resources and buildings and homes that meet that criteria. Unfortunately, a lot of homes have been modified, so they don't, even though they're old, they don't qualify because they've been altered by the owners. So these homes that come through the commission, these people really invest a lot of money in keeping it that way. So, and there is a lot of meetings coming up, so keep that in mind. They're going to be more than once a quarter because they increase the fees again to apply. They're up again to $10,000. And so before they reverse the fees or increase them, there was a rush of people that applied. So we're still going through the applications, and that's why there's a few meetings coming up, including tomorrow, and one every month that coincide with this commission's. Like, for example, the following day. Can't remember the dates, but they're the same week. So just keep that in mind.
And where do they typically take place and what time?
Here, it's on a Thursday at 4:30.
Okay.
So tomorrow's the next one.
No, that's a great overview. Any questions of Monica before we go back to the floor on this? Any other questions? Thank you very much, Commissioner Garcia. I was too quick on the opening that up. Do we have anyone that would like to volunteer to serve for the next year, or do we have any nominations of an individual?
Yeah, I would like to nominate Commissioner Mike Tardif.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would be honored to accept that nomination.
I second that nomination as was good.
Thank you. So noted, even though it wasn't required, but thank you. Any other would like to volunteer or?
I think I would make a nomination for Surrey for that position, for that commission. I'm sorry. My nomination goes for Surrey Ramos.
Okay, and would Commissioner Ramos accept?
I'll accept the nomination.
Okay. Anyone else? In that case, I believe for this sort of a matter, we would just take a quick roll call vote, starting from Commissioner Kano going down, and that would be to either voice your support for Vice Chair Tardif or Commissioner Ramos for the one-year term.
I vote in support of Vice Chair Mike Tardif.
And thank you very much. Commissioner Garcia?
I would like to support Commissioner Mike Tardif. I've worked with him on that commission before, so I think he would do a great job.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tardif?
I would vote for myself.
Commissioner Ramos?
Following that, I'll vote for myself as well.
Absolutely. Commissioner Santana?
Ramos.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vasquez?
I'll vote for Mike Ramos.
Mike Ramos?
I'm sorry, can you clarify?
It's Surrey Ramos.
Are you voting for Commissioner Ramos or Vice Chair Tardif?
Sorry, Ramos.
Not a problem. And unfortunately, I'm in the position of having to cast a tie-breaking vote, but I would also vote for Mike Tardif, which would, if my math is correct, make that 4-3. Okay.
Thanks.
Just as a quick point of clarification, since there is a meeting tomorrow, I don't know if Vice Chair Tardif would want to start at the following meeting, if Commissioner Garcia's already read the materials.
They already know that we had this meeting tonight, and I was going to there was a new representative going to be selected tonight, so they know. If you want me to go tomorrow, I can try to go, but they already know. And I have so
I'm available to attend the meeting tomorrow.
That's fine then. We can make it effective immediately for tomorrow's meeting then. I just wanted to make sure you'd already prepared and everything.
I brought the binder, so Mike, you have a lot of homework.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
No, thank you for the clarification. Okay, at this time, pardon me, I would like to ask if there are any public comments. Does the public have any comments they wish to share with the commission? Please know that you have 3 minutes to speak. I don't believe we have any. Are there any staff member comments this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of comments. First, I want to go back to the OCNEP discussion, and I think what I consistently try and do is be as transparent, provide as much information as possible to you as commissioners. But I could have answered and responded that there's pending legislation happening, and I have no comments whatsoever. And so I think if the item does come up again, that is going to be my response, because I don't want to jeopardize or put the city in any awkward position regarding my comments on the matter. But for our start, I'd like to invite Chris Dalton up to review a potential rating sheet for our CDBG public service application.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chairman Wood was actually kind enough to forward me the chart that he put together for last year's rating. After reviewing it, I felt it was something that the Commissioners could use as a tool to help them rate the proposals this year. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to email you tomorrow basically the draft that was given to me. When you actually receive it from me on February 13th, I'm actually going to pre-fill in the organizations and some of the basic information from the applications, so then you can kind of compare how they all stack up versus each other. It's pretty user-friendly. He broke it down by questions, so all the questions from the application are on here, the dollar amounts, how many individuals they're going to serve, minimum, acceptable, how much they're requesting. It's all on there. And then when they finally get down to the questions, he kind of pre-rated with his own score, usually from 1 to 10 that he denoted on there, how they fared in that question, and he broke it down. And then down at the bottom, he put together the actual rating, and what he did was questions 7, 8, and 9 were for this specific rating question. He tallied up those scores and put them down here, along with the total score for that specific question. The highest rated organization received the maximum number of points, and then he took a point off for every point below that highest value. And it was a fairly easy rating system for him to see how they all stacked up against each other, and was a pretty fair and even rating system that he came up with. And then down at the bottom, for funding request, if they scored 80 or higher, you just gave them 100% of what they were requesting. 70 to 79, you did it about 80%, and then minimum, if they fell below that, you don't have to use that guideline, but it was I felt it was a good rating system to use. This is just a guide. You can use it however you like. It's just an easy way for you to see the differences between all the organizations. It's roughly between 20 to 30 organizations that you'll be reviewing, so it was a very good spreadsheet to use. So you'll be receiving the draft for you to kind of look at it and play with it tomorrow from me. If you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me and it can guide you through it. If you want to come to the office and sit down and have discussion about it, my door's open. You set up a time to meet and I'll go over that with you.
Are we still doing the electronic thing? Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's still online. This is just how Chairman Wood was able to compile all the data to see and then plug it into the system.
It's been a while, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, if I could just add real quick, I've talked with Chris about this, and Sylvia had asked me before, several months ago, to share this, and I was negligent in getting it out to her in time, and Chris didn't have a lot of time to look it over, but we did have a conversation. This was just a very down and dirty spreadsheet that I put together that listed all of the applicants across the top, which you'll see. Chris will fill that in. And then going down, it's just an overview of how each one of them stack up against each other in the various categories that we're asked to rate them electronically. And so when this starts to fill out, it actually fills in. The formulas start to work and fill in the numbers that I then entered on the electronic version that went to the city. So it's sort of hard to see it, I think, on a screen this size versus when you have it and you have the questionnaires in front of you, you can see how they flow with the spreadsheet. Again, a lot of people might find it easier to just do it manually and have all these papers in front of them and go through and do each one, but I found it easier to take each one and go through the application and fill in how they scored and how they rated and then start to fill them in against each other before I put that in the electronic version that went to the city in case I had any changes or other things I needed to do. So you'll be sending that out to the commissioners and then
as a draft, and then when I actually assign the applications, it'll be a filled-in version with the actual applicants across the top, so you don't have to spend time doing
which
that.
gives an overview of how many people they serve, how long they've been, how many years in business, what they're requesting, the minimum, the maximum, and it just is an overview of everything on these forms we're going to have. And it doesn't have to be used. It's just a guide tool if any of us want to use it. And Chris is available to help you if you have questions on how to use it.
Next is regarding our tour next week of our Cdbg Public Service funded organizations.
Yes, just a reminder, we are having the Cdbg Tour on the 31st. We'll be meeting here at City Hall at 8:30. We'll be visiting Albee, which will be at 9. Wise Place, which will be at 10, and Orange County Children Therapeutic Arts, which will be at 11. And part of OCTAC, we're actually going to go from OCTAC to Willard, and the children are actually going to perform a dance that they actually won an award for as part of the program. So you'll be able to see the kids actually perform, and that'll probably be around 11:30 or so. We'll travel from OCTAC to Willard, and then after that we'll convene for lunch, and then come back to City Hall, and you're free to go. If you have not responded, whether or not you're able to make it, please make sure you get back to me by tomorrow, 5:30, because if we do have a quorum, I do have to post an agenda, and we want to get that up. If you don't have my email tomorrow when I email you the spreadsheet, just respond to that if you're able to make it or not.
And has everybody confirmed back yet?
I responded that I can't attend, unfortunately, due to the scheduling. Can I ask, I don't know how many people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask the same question. How many people can attend?
I was going.
I'm going.
Okay.
Mr.
I
Santana,
would like,
Ramos?
4.
I would like to attend, but I have not been receiving the emails for this commission, so that was kind of like a concern I had. It's been several months that I haven't.
So have I.
Really?
I think since Tay took off. But now I am receiving notice of.
Check your spam.
Okay.
May I comment a little bit
what-
on
Yeah.
Commissioner Cano? I figured out the reason that you were not receiving the emails. There was a letter missing on the email address, so I fixed it to make sure that you do get all the
Great.
emails.
Thank you so
That
much.
was a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so we have five members of the commission who will be attending the tour next Wednesday. Okay, wonderful, terrific. So we will post the agenda for the tour.
I just had one quick question, if I may. Have you had to? Because I know for the deadline is February 5th, correct? And has there been any incomplete applications? I know this week, or is it next week that there's the last orientation?
Tomorrow is the last
tomorrow.
orientation.
Okay.
I have not received any applications yet. I have had a couple individuals send me some of the PDFs because they were too large to upload, so I do manipulate them so they can upload, and they said they'd get their applications in by Thursday or Friday. But primarily every year, February, 2 to 3 days before the deadline is when everyone submits. But during the workshops, we always tell them, hey, please get them in early, because what I do, if they come in early enough, I kind of pre-screen them just to make sure that all the information there, that the uploads actually work. When they come in on the last day, I get to a couple of
So
them.
everyone's pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No problem. Sorry. And for the tour, again, just to reiterate what Chris said in his invitation, we'll be meeting here at 8:30, right? 8:30, we can caravan over together, and we'll be using the city Suburban to drive to the first location. But if you can't meet us here and you want to meet us directly at the first location, we'll be going to
The Delhi Center.
Delhi Center as the first stop at 9:00.
Great.
A couple other items. I do want to note, since you mentioned the CDBG application deadline, we will have a special meeting next Wednesday for the tour that we'll post for the members of the public to attend. But following that meeting, our next special meeting is going to be on February 27th and March 1st at 3 p.m. for the presentations by the nonprofit organizations through the structure that we agreed on at the December 20th commission meeting. Everyone should have received an invitation to the grand opening for our orchard project. It is on February 1st from 11 to 1 p.m. I hope everybody can make it. It is a great achievement for our city and one of our newest affordable housing projects for permanent supportive housing. Our Housing Authority Story of Success for January, I hope everybody sees a copy of it. It's for Ivan Viramontes. A couple more things here. Our start date for our homeless services manager, her name is Hafsa Keka, and she'll be joining us beginning on February 12th. And so that she will be starting with us, and she'll be providing our next homeless services quarterly report update on behalf of staff. And then update on the city council action items. following our previous CRHC meeting, the Housing Successor Agency loan agreement for $8.5 million for AmCal's First Street Apartments project was approved by City Council on January 16th. In addition, staff presented the Affordable Housing Fund's policies and procedures to the Economic Development, Infrastructure, Budget, and Technology Committee on January 8th. We received additional feedback and input from the committee members at that meeting, and we'll be responding to the committee member comments and bringing back the draft policies and procedures to City Council as a work study session on February 20th. And lastly, in regards to our vacant seat for Commissioner De Leon, that Commissioner De Leon previously held, I do check with the clerk of the council's office on a weekly basis regarding when Councilmember Benavides does plan to fill that vacant seat. No further comments.
Thank you very much. At this time, commission members, please note that no member may speak more than once until all have had an opportunity to speak. Also, the commission may vote to limit our comments to 3 minutes each if we feel the need. I'd like to begin with comments. Commissioner Vasquez, any comments?
Well, going back to, I do have, can it be a question?
I believe so.
Okay. About the Santa Ana Artists Collective. As an artist myself with strong connections to the Latino artist community, I need to ask if there'll be consideration provided to this community to begin with such with outreach, either ongoing right now or planned. And thought it occurred to me, moreover, should I also talk to the Arts Commission for more information?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Vasquez. So the property management company and the developer are overseeing the tenant selection and outreach process. They do have a tenant selection plan that they've finalized for that process, and are engaging in the outreach and marketing. I will refer you. I will send you an email with their contact information, so you can inquire further about for if you're interested, as well as anybody you know who are interested to apply for one of the units when the application becomes available.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Commissioner Santana?
I'll make it really brief. I want to thank the city staff for your patience, as well as Hodge. I know we have a lot of questions, and we're excited to start the year moving forward. One thing I always want to reiterate is we must continue doing more outreach and talking to our residents. I know of our great programs we have coming up, and just playing a more vital role in the community engagement part. Other than that, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos?
Just very similarly, I would like to thank staff for the reports that you've produced that are very informative, and thank you for being very patient with us and answering all of our questions. And I would also like to congratulate Commissioner Tardif on his appointment to the Historic Regions Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tardif?
I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for selecting me to represent our Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission to the Historic Resources Commission. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, a couple comments. Just wanted to thank staff for coordinating the tour of the sites. I know this was an idea that came up from, I believe, former Commissioner De Leon last year. So it's nice that everybody in the team accommodated this request and made it happen. We appreciate you taking half day to take us on that tour, even though I can't be there.
Right.
Good luck to everybody. Also wanted to say good luck to Commissioner Mike Tardif on your new role, and congratulations.
Thanks.
I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to be your representative as commission's rep on that commission, and I'll miss working on there. With that team, I really enjoyed my time with Alberta Christie. She's a former City of Santa Ana council member back in the 80s and 90s when I was in elementary school and junior high, so it was nice to work with her. She's a really nice lady. You never know who you're going to end up working with, that's for sure. So I think that's it. That's some of the things what I think about, so that's it.
If you remember, we'll come back to it real quick.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cano?
Yeah, just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Mike. Congratulations. And then I'm looking forward to the site visits. If I could just get an email on that so I can reply back, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of quick things as well. First, let me just say to Commissioner Ramos, without any doubt, I know you would have been an excellent choice and to represent us for the Historic Resources Commission. And it's always tough being a tie-breaking vote. I've had to do it once before. And my only sincere hope is that all of us, especially, all of the newer members that have not served in a capacity such as chair or vice chair or is on the Historic Resources Commission have the opportunity, Commissioner Cano and Ramos and Santana have the opportunity to serve in some capacity very soon as others leave. I'd like to thank Miriam left, but Terry and Daisy and Chris for staying through and giving us your presentations. Really appreciate it. I was really so pleased to see Exhibit 2 tonight and the full homeless report that we've been asking for. Those were great. And I'd like to close with just thanking Monica for representing us so well on the Historic Resource Commission and for taking time every few meetings to bring us up to date with what you were doing, and much appreciated. And I wish Mike much success on that. So thank you. And did you remember any other things you wanted to comment on?
No, I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Save it. Barring no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. The next meeting scheduled for February 28th will be canceled or has been canceled. The next special meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 27th and March 1st at 3 p.m. at the City Hall, Ross Annex, room 1600. Thank you, everybody.